My son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with thee. Keep my commandments and live, and my law is the apple of thine eye. Bind them upon thy fingers, write them upon the tables of thine heart. Say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinswomen.
Shalom, everybody. Our people have a zeal for God. We have a real, true zeal for God, but it's not according to the knowledge. It's not according to what God wants us to do. It's actually according to what we want to do. We are partial with God. But, facts you can go to just about anybody on the streets and ask them, do they love God? And they're going to tell you, yes, they're going to give you a whole testimony on how and why they love God. But they're not doing what God say do. And if they are, they're doing only a little bit of what God say do. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into it. I'm first going to start off with Deuteronomy chapter 10, starting at verse 12. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day, for thy good. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is the Lord's thy God, the earth also, with all that therein is. Only the Lord had a delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. For the Lord your God is God of gods, and Lord of lords, a great God, a mighty and terrible, which regardeth not persons, nor taketh reward. So this is a requirement that we keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and his statutes. We are to keep the commandments. But people today say we don't have to do that. But they're trying to only keep some commandments. They say you don't have to keep all the commandments. And even some people would say the 10 commandments, but they don't even keep the 10 commandments. They keep maybe a couple of them. You can't do that. You can't be partial. You cannot be partial with God when it comes to that. Let's go to Romans chapter 10, verse 2. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. Now, if you don't know what zeal is another word, another name for love. It's another word for love. So people have a love for God, but not according to the knowledge. So you have to know what is the knowledge. What is that I need to know that I can now say that I truly love God. Let's go to Malachi chapter 2. We'll start at verse 7. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. So the priest is supposed to teach us the laws of God. That is the knowledge. But let's keep reading. Verse 8. But ye are departed out of thy way. Ye have caused many to stumble at the law. Ye have corrupted the covenant of Levi, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all the people, according as ye have not kept my ways, but have been partial in the law. And that goes for many people today. They are partial in the law. It's only certain things they want to do, because they want to seek their ways, but not the ways of the Most High God. And you cannot be partial. You cannot be partial. You cannot teach other people that they don't have to keep all the commandments. You have to keep all the commandments. You know, it's very, and it's simple. It's simple commandments. Matter of fact, let's go to we go to 1 John chapter 2, verse 3. And hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments. So the only way we can say we know God is by keeping his commandments. That's simple. Verse 4, he that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. I mean, that's simple. If you're not keeping the commandments, and you're trying to say, I know God, I love God, you're a liar, because to love God is to keep his commandments. Let's look at 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. The commandments are not hard to do at all. Like I said, I have another video that's going into some of the commandments. The commandments are not hard to do at all. It's because we are stiff-necked and uncircumcised in our heart, which is really it's the mind, it's the brain. If you look at the concordance for what the Hebrew word of heart is, it's talking about your mind. Because your heart doesn't think for you. It's just it's an organ that pumps the blood. So anyway, that's the love of God, that you keep the commandments. Let's look at 2 John chapter 1, verse 6. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye shall walk in it. And let's skip down to verse 10, because this goes for a lot of the so-called pastors today. If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. Don't listen to him. He's telling you what the Bible, he's teaching you against the Bible. Because if the love of God is to keep the commandments, to say you love God is to keep the commandments, to say you know God is to keep the commandments, but the pastor or minister or whoever it is telling you don't have to keep the commandments. The Bible's telling you to don't even welcome him into your house. Don't listen to him. Let's go to Jeremiah. We'll go to Jeremiah chapter 3. I want verse 15. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 15. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. So this is what your pastor is supposed to be doing, teaching you the laws of God. We already went into what it is. Now let's look at, as a matter of fact, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 22. For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children. They have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. The people are foolish. It's a fool that despises wisdom. His people are foolish. They don't have the knowledge. They don't want the knowledge. Matter of fact, let's look at Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 21. Hear now this, O foolish people, and without understanding, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not. Fear ye not me, saith the Lord? Will ye not tremble at my presence, which have placed the sand for a bound of the sea of the perpetual decree, that it cannot pass it? And though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail. Though they roar, they cannot pass over it. But this people hath a revolting and a rebellious heart. They are revolted and gone. Neither say they in their heart, let us now fear the Lord our God, that giveth rain, both the former and the latter, in this season. He reserveth unto us the appointed weeks of the harvest. Your iniquities have turned away these things, and your sins have withholding good things from you. Just go down to verse 28. They are waxing fat, they shine, yeah. They overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper. And right of the needy do they not judge. Shall I not visit for these things, saith the Lord? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? A wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means, and my people love to have it so. So what will ye do in the end thereof? So he's telling you his people are foolish. They, like I said, they have a love for God, but it's not according to his knowledge. They rather listen to what man says do. And that's how the prophets, the so-called pastors, they do now. They tell you what they think is okay. They're teaching you out of emotions, but not out of the knowledge of what God has set forth for us to go by. This is the ultimate standard. Let's look at Matthew chapter 13. We'll start at verse 10. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away, even that he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed. Lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. So Christ is telling you that these people, basically it's going to be hard-headed. They're going to see in the Bible where it says you have to keep the commandments, but they don't want to see that. They cover their eyes. They're going to hear people tell them, hey man, you have to keep the commandments, but they cover their ears because they don't want to hear it. But he said he got this from, let's look at Isaiah. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 6, verse 9. And he said, Go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert, and be healed. So this is where Christ was saying that he got this prophecy from. It's in Isaiah chapter 6, verse 9 and 10. Let's look also at Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel chapter 12. We'll look at verse 1 and 2. The word of the Lord also came unto me, saying, Son of man, thou dwellest in the midst of a rebellious house, which have eyes to see and see not. They have ears to hear and hear not, for they are a rebellious house. And that goes for our people today. They see that we have to keep the laws. They hear you have to keep the laws, but they are so rebellious that they don't want to do it. They're so hard-headed that they just want to keep doing it the way they do it. And that's not what, that's not what we're supposed to do. That's not what the Most High said we need to do. That's not what Christ said we need to do. And that's not what the prophets who prophesied and they got the word from God, that's what we're supposed to do. But let's go back to Matthew and look at verse 15. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. Now he says should be converted. Now how do you become converted? We're going to go to Psalm 19. Psalm 19 verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. That's how you convert your soul. It's by keeping the law of God. In Psalm 19 verse 7. Let's go back to Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 5, verse 21. Hear now this, O foolish people, and without understanding, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not. Well, what's the understanding? What do we need to understand? If you don't have the understanding by now about what we just went through, about what is the knowledge, let's find out what the understanding is. We're going to go to Psalm 111, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So I'm going to stop there. Once you fear God, that's when you start becoming wise. Well, let's read on some more. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever. Forever. So, it's saying, once you fear God, you're going to keep his commandments because you don't want to suffer the consequences for not keeping his commandments. So then you have a good understanding, because it's a good understanding have all they that do his commandments. But as a matter of fact, let's jump up. Psalms 111 verse 7. The works of his hand are verity and judgment. All his commandments are sure. They stand fast forever and ever, and are done in truth and uprightness. He sent redemption unto his people. He hath commanded his covenant forever. Holy and reverent is his name. So it's telling you the commandments of God is to last forever. It was never supposed to be an ending to it. Never supposed to be an ending. It's always telling you forever. As a matter of fact, let's go to Psalm 112, verse 1. Praise ye the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. So blessed is the person who's fearing God and who is happy to keep his commandments. That you're not wrestling with the commandments, saying, "Oh, I don't want to shave my head because I need to shave my head because my hairline is receding and I don't think I look good. Or I want to shave my beard because it makes me look younger. Or I don't want to wear fringes because I don't like the way they look. I can't stop eating pork because that bacon in the morning tastes so good. I have to have my pig feet. I have to have my chitlins. I can't stop. I need my crabs. I need my lobster, my shrimp. I need it because it tastes so good. So you're putting the wants of what you want over what God told you to do. And that's really sad. That's really sad. But let's go to 2 Chronicles. And I'm gonna end with these couple of verses here. The 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes shall be open and my ears attent unto the prayer that is made in this place. For now have I chosen and sanctified this house, that my name be there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. And as for thee, if thou wilt walk before me as David thy father walked, and do according to all that I commanded thee, and shall observe my statutes and my judgments, then will I establish the throne of thy kingdom, according as I have covenanted with David thy father, saying, there shall not fail thee a man to be a ruler in Israel. So we have to turn from our wicked ways. We have to humble ourselves, put away what you think is good for God, and go by what God said is good for him. Now let's keep reading verse 19. But if you turn away and forsake my statutes and my commandments, which I have set before you, and shall go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I pluck them up from the roots out of my land, which I have given them. In this house, which I have sanctified for my name, will I cast out of my sight, and will make it be a proverb and a byword among all nations. And this house, which is high, shall be an astonishment to everyone that passeth by it. So he shall say, why hath the Lord done this unto this land and unto this house? And it shall be answered, because they forsook the Lord thy God of their fathers, which brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on the other gods, and worshipped them, and served them. Therefore hath he brought all this evil upon them. So if we don't keep the commandments of God, we're going to stay like this. Now, many people will say, well, I'm not cursed, I'm blessed. But what about your nation entire? Is everybody blessed that's in your nation? No. And you're still, if you want to call yourself a king, or what some people today call themselves queen, which wasn't a righteous queen ruler in Israel. You'll be a princess. But if you want to say, okay, I'm a king, I'm a queen, then why are you subject to any payments? Why are you working for somebody else? Because the king or so-called queen, which really should be a princess, they have people working for them, not you working for other people. So if you think you're a king or a queen, you think very unhighly of God, that he would set you above, as he said, all people. Let's go to Deuteronomy real quick. Deuteronomy, because if you remember back in Second Chronicles, it said in Second Chronicles, verse 20, then will I pluck them up from the roots out of my land which I have given them, in this house which I have sanctified by my name. I will cast out of my sight and will make it be a proverb and a byword among all nations. Now, let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 28. I'm going to start at verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now let's look at verse 37. Let's start at verse 36, as a matter of fact. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou hast set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. That was read in the Old Testament, where Moses was telling you what was going to happen, that we would become a proverb and a byword. You know, as a matter of fact, let's look at verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. It's easy to look at who got these curses. It's easy to look at. Just look around you. It's easy to understand who got these curses. Now, just like it said in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive them. We'll forgive their sins and will heal their land. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass that thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So that's what we have to do. We have to humble ourselves, keep the commandments. Deuteronomy 28, verse 9. Because this is what it means, to be holy. We know holy means to be separate, but what are the works that you have to do to be separate? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 9. The Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. That's what we have to do. Keep the commandments, walk in his ways, not our ways, but the ways of the Most High that he set forth for us. We want to say stuff like, oh, order my steps, and he's giving you the steps, but you're trying to go off of your own steps, on your own path. But he gave you a right path, not the left path, but a right path that has a light at the very end. That light is the commandments of God. Let's look at this. I'm going to end with this. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. And they were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore will I change their glory into shame. So we have to keep the commandments of God. We have to humble ourselves. Men, we have to stand up and be the rulers of this world. We have to keep the commandments of God. Lead our women. And once we really rise up, we can get our women right, because the women will see a change in us. So we have to humble ourselves, seek God, keep his commandments. Be converted. Keep the law. That converts the soul. That's how you become perfect within God.
And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is the love of God perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him. He that saith he abideth in him, ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. Brethren, I write no new commandment unto you, but an old commandment which ye had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which ye have heard from the beginning. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.